Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I grew up in a nice house with my parents. We weren't rich, but we had enough. My dad worked hard at his job and my mom stayed home to take care of me. I was their only kid, so I got lots of attention. Things were good until I turned 13. That's when my dad got really sick. The doctor said he had a rare disease and needed expensive treatments. Suddenly, everything changed. My mom had to take over the finances, and that's when the trouble started. She'd never been good with money, but I didn't know that back then. I just knew things were different. One day I came home from school and tried to turn on the TV, but it wouldn't work. I called out to my mom telling her the TV wasn't working and asking if something was wrong with it. My mom reassured me, saying the electricity company probably made a mistake and that she'd call them tomorrow. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my mom. But it kept happening. Sometimes the water wouldn't work. Other times the internet was out. Each time my mom had an excuse. She'd tell me it was just a mix-up with the bill and that everything was fine. But I started noticing other things. Men in suits would come to our door and hand my mom papers. She'd always shoo me away when that happened. When I was 17, I started thinking about college. I was excited but nervous about the cost. I talked to my mom about it one night after dinner. I told her I'd been looking at colleges and asked if she thought we could afford it. My mom assured me that she and my father had a college fund all set up for me. She told me not to worry about a thing and that they'd take care of everything. I was so relieved. I applied to my dream school and got in. I packed my bags and headed off to college, thinking everything was taken care of. But in my second semester, things got weird. I got a call from a credit card company I'd never heard of. The representative told me I'd missed several payments on a MasterCard and that they needed to discuss my account. I was confused and told them I didn't have a MasterCard, thinking there must be some mistake. The representative insisted that the card was definitely in my name and had been opened about 6 months ago. I panicked. I thought someone had stolen my identity. I called my mom right away. I told her someone had opened a credit card in my name and asked what I should do. My mom tried to calm me down, telling me she had opened the card for me to help build my credit. When I asked why she didn't tell me, she said she didn't want me to worry about it and that she was handling everything. I was confused, but I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was my mom. But the calls kept coming. Different credit cards, different loans. Each time my mom said she'd take care of it. As college went on, things got harder. Sometimes I couldn't pay my rent because my mom hadn't sent money for my student housing. I had to get a job on top of my classes just to make ends meet. It wasn't until I graduated that I found out the truth. I was excited to start my new life, but then I got a letter about my student loan payments. I called my mom thinking there was a mistake. I asked her why I was getting bills for student loans when I thought they had a college fund for me. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. My mom hesitantly explained that they did have a fund, but they had to use it for my father's medical bills. She admitted to taking out loans in my name to pay for college. When I asked how she could do that without telling me, she said she didn't want me to worry and thought she could pay them off before I found out. I was in shock. I had a degree, but I also had massive debt I knew nothing about, and the job market for my field wasn't great. I couldn't afford to live on my own, so I had to move back home. Living with my parents again was eye-opening. I saw firsthand how bad things were. People would come to the door with court papers for my mom. She'd always brush it off, saying it was just a misunderstanding and that she'd sort it out. But I knew better now. I started checking my credit report regularly, terrified of what I might find. I love my mom, but I couldn't trust her anymore. Now I'm in my 30s. My dad's health improved, and he's working again. They're doing better financially, but the damage to me was already done. I'm still struggling with the debt my mom put in my name. I've tried to talk to her about it, but she always has an excuse. When I bring up the loans and credit cards she opened in my name, she insists that she did it to help me and that I needed to build credit. When I point out that she didn't tell me and now I'm in debt, she just says it'll all work out and tells me not to worry so much. But I do worry. I worry all the time. I love my mom, but I can't forget what she did. She never apologizes, never admits she was wrong. She just acts like it's all normal. I've had to set strict boundaries with her. I check my credit report monthly. I've put freezes on my credit to prevent new accounts from being opened. It's sad that I have to protect myself from my own mother, but that's my reality now. The hardest part is never knowing what's real. Is the world really how I see it, or is it the way my mom describes it? It's made me question everything and everyone. I'm working on rebuilding my finances and my trust in others. It's a slow process, but I'm getting there. I've joined support groups for people with financially abusive parents, and it's helped me realize I'm not alone. As for my mom, she's still the same. She smiles and acts like everything's fine, even when it's not. But now when she tells me not to worry, I know better. I've learned the hard way that sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones you need protection from. My wife and I had just welcomed our first child into the world. We were young, sure, but we were ready for this responsibility. Or so we thought, until a pair of entitled rich folks tried to turn our lives upside down. It begins at a neighborhood barbecue. My wife and I had just moved into this upscale area, thanks to a promotion at work. We were the new kids on the block, and everyone was curious about us and our little bundle of joy. That's when we met them. This wealthy couple who lived a few houses down. They seemed nice enough at first, cooing over our baby and asking us all sorts of questions. The wealthy woman gushed over our baby, asking how old he was. When I told her he was just 3 months old, the wealthy man commented on how young we looked to be parents and asked how we were managing. My wife assured them we were doing great, acknowledging the challenges but expressing our love for every minute of it. The wealthy woman then offered to babysit if we ever needed help. We thought it was a kind offer at the time. Little did we know it was the beginning of a nightmare. A week later, they showed up at our doorstep with a giant teddy bear. The wealthy woman explained they couldn't resist buying it for our baby when they saw it. I thanked them, acknowledging their generosity. The wealthy man then suggested we take a night off, offering to watch the baby for us. My wife politely declined, explaining we weren't comfortable leaving him with anyone just yet. They seemed disappointed, but we didn't think much of it. Then the gifts started pouring in. Expensive clothes, top-of-the-line baby gear, even a college fund. It was overwhelming. One day, they invited us over for dinner. That's when things took a turn. The wealthy couple broached the subject of our youth and the huge responsibility of raising a child. They highlighted their own advantages: a big house, financial stability, and years of life experience. When my wife asked for clarification, the wealthy woman revealed their desire to adopt our baby, claiming they could give him the best life possible. I was shocked and firmly refused, stating that he was our son and we loved him more than anything. The wealthy man tried to persuade us, suggesting we could still see him and that they could provide opportunities we couldn't at our age. My wife decisively ended the conversation, saying it was time for us to leave. We left immediately, shocked and angry, but it didn't end there. They started spreading rumors in the neighborhood. A neighbor approached me, asking if it was true we were considering giving up our baby. When I denied it and asked where they heard such a thing, they vaguely mentioned hearing it through the grapevine and that people were saying we were struggling to cope. It was infuriating. We found out they'd been telling everyone we were unfit parents. They even had the nerve to call my parents. My mom called, expressing concern based on what the nice people from down the street had told her. I had to explain that these people weren't nice at all and were trying to take our child. But the worst was yet to come. One day, a social worker showed up at our door, mentioning concerning reports about our child's welfare and asking to come in. It was a nightmare. We had to prove we were fit parents, all because of these entitled lunatics and their lies. Things came to a head at a family gathering. We were celebrating my cousin's engagement, and everyone was there, including them. They'd somehow wormed their way into an invitation. I was inside when I heard a commotion. I rushed out to see the wealthy woman trying to sneak out with our son in her arms. My wife demanded our baby back, while the wealthy woman claimed she was saving him from us, insisting we didn't deserve him. I've never moved so fast in my life. I snatched our son back while my wife called the police. The wealthy man accused us of being ungrateful brats, claiming they were trying to help us. I retorted that they had been terrorizing us for months. The police arrived quickly, and that's when everything came out. Turns out this wasn't the first time they'd tried something like this. They'd been involved in a similar incident in another state, but the charges had been dropped. As they were being led away in handcuffs, the wealthy woman shouted that we would see that they were the only ones who could give our baby what he needed. The aftermath was intense. We had to give statements, attend court hearings, and deal with the emotional fallout. But we also received an outpouring of support from our real friends and family. It's been a year since that day. We've moved to a new neighborhood, one where people mind their own business. Our son is growing up happy and healthy, surrounded by love. As for the entitled couple, last I heard, they were facing serious jail time, and turns out, when the police dug deeper, they found evidence of other attempts to illegally adopt children. They've been preying on young parents for years. Sometimes I still can't believe it all happened, but it taught us an important lesson. Trust your instincts and never let anyone make you doubt your ability to love and care for your own child. No amount of money or status gives someone the right to try and take what's not theirs. We're doing great now. Our little family is stronger than ever, and every time I look at my son, I'm thankful for the life we've built together, without any help from entitled strangers. I used to be a high-flying executive at a Fortune 500 company. Long hours, high stress, but the pay was great. I thought I had it all figured out. Then, one day, it all came crashing down. Panic attacks, debilitating anxiety, and depression hit me like a freight train. I couldn't function anymore. My work suffered, my relationships crumbled, and eventually, I had to leave my job. That's when I decided to apply for disability. I thought it would be straightforward. I couldn't even leave my house most days. I got the denial letter yesterday. As I read through it, my heart sank. The judge had torn me to pieces on everything. It felt like she was describing someone else, not me. I couldn't understand how she knew so much about my personal life. Confused and upset, I took the documents to my therapist. I've been seeing him for months now, trying to get my life back on track. As he read through the letter, his face grew pale. He expressed shock at the judge's access to his therapy notes, which were supposed to be private. He explained that he never received any subpoena, and there was nothing in their system allowing anyone to access these records. He told me he would investigate the matter with his supervisor immediately. I sat there stunned. My private thoughts, my deepest fears, all laid bare for this judge to pick apart. It felt like a violation of the worst kind. As I read through the denial letter again, things started to make sense. The judge had used specific things I'd said in therapy to determine I was able to work. She even knew about my ex-partner who had written a letter advocating for me. During the hearing, she had questioned me about this, revealing her knowledge of my personal relationships. I called my lawyer hoping for some clarity. He was surprised and concerned when I told him about the judge's access to my therapy notes. He explained that this was a serious breach of privacy laws if the notes were obtained without proper authorization. He advised me to gather all the evidence and said he would contact the court to find out how they obtained these records. He emphasized that this wasn't just about my disability case anymore, but about protecting my rights and holding the system accountable. Over the next few weeks, we dug deep. My therapist's investigation revealed that someone had hacked into the clinic system, specifically targeting my records. The hack was sophisticated, leaving almost no trace. Almost. My lawyer was relentless. She subpoenaed records, interviewed court staff, and eventually uncovered a shocking truth. The judge had a personal vendetta against people with mental health issues, claiming disability. She'd been secretly accessing therapy records for years, using them to deny claims. We took our evidence to the State Judicial Conduct Board. The investigation that followed was intense. More victims came forward, each with a similar story. The judge had abused her power, violated countless privacy laws, and destroyed lives in the process. During the hearing, I watched as the judge's demeanor changed from smug confidence to panic as the evidence was presented. When questioned by the board, she tried to defend her actions as being thorough, but my lawyer countered by pointing out the illegal nature of her actions and the violation of privacy for hundreds of vulnerable individuals. The board's decision was unanimous. The judge was immediately removed from the bench and faced criminal charges. My disability case was reopened, this time with a fair and impartial review. The road ahead was still long, but for the first time in years, I felt hope. Sometimes standing up for yourself isn't just about you. It's about making sure no one else has to go through what you did. The system tried to break me, but in the end, it only made me stronger. And now I'm determined to use my experience to help others fight back against injustice. Because everyone deserves a fair chance, especially when they're at their most vulnerable. I'm 42 and starting over after my long marriage ended. My wife cheated on me many times. We were together for almost 20 years, had kids, and went to church a lot. I thought we were happy, but I was wrong. It began with little things like flirting. Then I caught her with my friend from church. I tried to save our marriage, but she kept cheating. Finally, I asked for a divorce. The last 2 years were hard. My ex made the divorce ugly, saying I was the bad guy. I had to leave my church because people talked. But I didn't give up. I found a new church and met someone new. My new girlfriend is nice. She gets my situation, and we're not rushing things. This Labor Day, we went to my old church's picnic. I knew my ex would be there, but I wanted to show I was okay. At the picnic, my girlfriend looked great. We wore matching socks for fun. I wore a shirt that said "Built for Conflict" to feel strong. At the park, I started cooking like I used to. My ex looked shocked when she saw us. She came over and was mean to my girlfriend, saying it was weird for her to be there. Later, my ex told me to leave. I said no. She got the pastor, but he understood when I explained. My ex got mad and said we were ruining the picnic. When that didn't work, she went to cry to the friend she cheated with. My girlfriend and I just had fun at the picnic. We played with kids and talked to old friends. When my ex glared at us, we smiled back. People kept looking at my girlfriend because she's pretty. It felt good to see them surprised. They probably thought I'd be sad after the divorce. As we left, my ex tried to make us feel bad one last time. She said we ruined everything. I told her we only ruined her attempt to control things and wished her a good day. We left holding hands and my ex had nothing to say. It might not have been the most grown-up thing to do, but it felt good to stand up for myself. In the car, my girlfriend asked if I was okay. I said yes, and I meant it. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was moving forward. My ex couldn't control me anymore, and I was ready for whatever came next. This picnic showed me how much I've grown. I faced my past without letting it hurt me. My new girlfriend was there supporting me. It wasn't always easy, but I stayed calm and enjoyed myself. I realized I'm stronger than I thought. The church that once felt like home had changed. Or maybe I had. Either way, I didn't need it anymore. I have a new life, new love, and new confidence. As we drove home, I felt truly free. The drama with my ex seemed small and far away. I was excited about my future for the first time in years. Sure, there will be more challenges. Divorce and new relationships are never simple. But after today, I know I can handle whatever comes my way. I'm not the same man who was hurt by betrayal. I'm stronger, wiser, and ready for a fresh start. My girlfriend squeezed my hand and smiled. In that moment, I knew everything would be all right. The past is behind me and the future looks bright. I'm finally moving on and it feels amazing.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.